Hi, Sunday chat. You'd think we'd be getting a bit of summer around here, but we've still got snow on the mountains even now in November. Very cold day again today. Okay, couple of interesting things. Now this Blackburn Skua has been on the desk for a couple of years now, and all I need to do is somehow mount undercarriage into there, and there's no mounting point. I have spoken about this one before, so I really want to get to this. I mean, it's not a difficult thing at all, so what I need to do is figure out what sort of tube, very thin piece of tube I can put in there so that the pin of the undercarriage can just slot into there, rather than just jamming a lot of glue in there and trying to get the leg to settle on glue alone. I'd like to have a small piece of tube which would remind you of that on the Harvard. But now obviously I don't want something as huge as that. That's very over engineered for what it needs to achieve. So I might even get to that today. I really want this model out of the way. Okay, before I get to the Harvards, my 1/24 figures, the three figures that come from the Trumpeter Spitfire 1/24. So these are very, very good quality figures. Now, you'll remember they were in that resin color. I did spray a sort of an olive color rather than the black base coat, the black base which I'd been speaking about previously. And the reason for that, as I did say, is that while black is very good for all the shadow effect, the bigger your figure gets, it's a little bit too heavy compared to this, and it means more work afterwards, but you do get your shadow. Now this means that I didn't get my shadow. So for instance, in the arms there, so in that gap there needs to be a bit heavier color. Everywhere where there's deep recess, like in between fingers, it's not going to come through as well on this. But so while overall it's a good starting base color, what it needs is that deep recess shadow effect. Now I haven't quite figured out if I'm going to do that with ink. Oils are possible, but I don't want to use oils at this stage because that'll affect further spraying in case I did want to spray further. So I'm just showing you where I am at with that so far. So none of that color is obviously a final color, but it's a reasonable base coat. But I need that shadow effect in there first. And at the same time, I then oversprayed those figures which I did have black. A couple of them were black, I can't remember which ones. So they all sort of look like this now. This is the 132nd and the 148th Phantom Pilots. The 148ths aren't here right now. And the arms I'm keeping separate because it stops you from getting to be able to paint the details where the arms would sort of block your access. And it's quite easy to put the arms on afterwards without affecting your finish. Helmets I'm leaving black because helmet color is usually different from uniform color, almost always. Visor, I'd like to have a sort of a nice, interesting, reflective look happening on that. So only the mask really needs to be painted afterwards. But I'm most keen on these figures. As far as getting that shading and highlighting right before I then go for the final colors of the jackets, the boots, pants and all that. Once I'm happy with the shadow and base coat, the usual next thing to do is the flesh colors. So we'll see how we develop on those. I'm not in a rush there. Okay. So I am starting on, well, when I say starting, everything is ongoing forever. This Harvard, the basic Airfix Harvard, here's one that's closer to finished. Very, very simple kit. One of the most simple kits that you get, in fact. Engine is molded into the cowling. By no means is it a great kit, but it's not a bad kit for representing a Harvard with minimal work. Of course, I would choose the Academy any day, and I have many Academies, and we will be getting to those. I just want to get a couple of these out the way. Now, I don't know if you've been building models for a long time. Every now and again you get, and I don't think it's only limited to Airfix, but you don't find it with Matchbox, where the plastic is really not great. This is one of those kits where the plastic is very brittle, very waxy, and what I mean by waxy is it doesn't have that bendability of normal plastic. So when you cut it, it sort of cuts away in quick snap cuts. It just shatters pieces away. Not great to work with, but you can still build your model adequately. I don't like that plastic though, but you never know what you're going to get in the box. So I'm busy working on this morning I've just been working on the wing fillets. So while I'm doing almost nothing, this is out the box build. Those wing fillets, I'm trying to get to a point which they are very, very, so the one side there, you'll see that side is very, very nice. The other side is not as nice. These tabs don't necessarily slot equally into the cutouts. So the fuselage may sit higher on one side. So the first thing to do is scrape away and ensure that these pieces of plastic are not causing the fuselage to sit higher. Second thing is these pieces here not allowing the wing to sit flush. So that section needs to be very nice. You'll see it's almost got a bit of a gap there on the one side, and I had to use the file and file on the inside there to make sure that this wing can get in. On this particular one, luckily at this stage, it's not a case where the fuselage is too wide so that as you put it in, it forces the wings more open. This one is keeping that dihedral just about as correct as it should be. So I'm close to getting the wings on today. I just did that little bit of filling because there's that very common sink mark. There are sink marks on this thicker piece of the tail, but they're not huge and I'm not going to fill them in. The underside is okay. There's an example of where that's snapped off. So the one little piece of that side snapped off, and that's okay, not a big deal. On this Harvard, exactly the same model, I've cut off those steps to get into the cockpit. So there you see them on that one. That one's got them cut away. Very minor mods. This Harvard has got a lot of faults. Am I going to be able to show this to you? The fin does not taper adequately to the tip of it. I think this one shows it even better, where this part of the fin, or the vertical stabilizer, is very, very thick. I have modified it on some of my Harvards. I'm not modifying it on this one. The angle of this this line of the cowling should not be like that and like that as it is. But anyway, these are quick builds. Probably one of them will be box scheme. You know, they've also got all those pins on the inside just for the seats. So there's almost nothing that goes into here except a pilot on a seat, and that's okay. So we'll do these couple of builds, then that's two of the Airfix ones out the way. The type of weathering that I got on this wing by sanding the panel lines, so you see all of that panel line sanding is somewhat achievable on the Harvard, even though the Harvard doesn't have the most accurate, and this is not lines, it's little rivet lines, but they're quite fine, and you can actually get a nice pattern by sanding that afterwards, and that's one thing I might do on both of these Harvards, because it changes an absolute basic kit into something that's got a little bit of interesting appeal, which is essentially what happens on this Skua. Not a good kit at all, and I've done next to nothing except that surface sanding after this spraying and even after the decal. So you can see even the decal has got its sort of panel line weathering going through it, which came out very well. So that was the experiment that I was doing it on this model. This was also, especially if you look at this section of the camouflage, this piece here, that was hand painted Humbrol probably over a sprayed base. So I would have sprayed the main green and then hand painted that, and then sand it down, and you get a little bit of unevenness. So you can still achieve a lot with very basic hand painting. Panel lines there on the horizontal stabilizer. Okay, you'll notice on this one that little joint there, this side it's good. I don't know if this is coming through on the video. And there it's got that step which one could fill. Now that's it's sort of a very common misalignment on this Harvard kit. It's not the worst to fix. I'll see what I do. Well, the other one broke off anyway. So just now as I was fitting, so that part is still okay. That one broke off. It's on the desk because this is so brittle. There's no flex allowed on this at all. And this looks like the good one, so it's the other one which would be a problem. Anyway, I do tend to like this category of very, very simple Airfix kit, even though they've got a lot of faults and they're not the most accurate, and you could choose so many better kits. But it's just that level of modeling where you can put in a little bit to change a very old and basic kit into something quite presentable. I mean, everyone knows that the Academy kit looks very, very nice, and Academy kits in general look beautiful, but I guess it's just that little bit of challenge to do an amount of modeling that that gives you a result where if you put it next to the Academy kit, it certainly doesn't look awful. And the same with the Liberator, which I've got coming up. You know, very, very, very old kit. Not badly presented. You know, it's got nice enough surface detail. It does suffer from the classic thick canopies and stuff like that, but you can still make a very, very nice model compared to, for instance, again, the Academy, which you can make a very beautiful kit. Okay, so the next steps on all of these figures is shadow, and I will show you what that looks like. I'll maybe do a comparison. I'll do one of the figures and leave the other one so that we can cover the different stages. This one, you can see there on the boots, I have not covered all of the wrinkles adequately with my spraying. In fact, you can see sort of a variation of yellow and green. Should I do some respraying? Probably doesn't matter at this stage. So I'm going to do some shadow effect, and I think I'll try one of the figures. I've got 3 of these to do. I'll try one of them with ink, and we'll see what the shadow effect looks like. And keep in mind that the Games Workshop's brown ink and black inks can be used. Brown is more commonly used at the end once you have painted all of the colors correctly. Black can be used before the time, just to give you that shadow effect for the next layers of painting that are coming up. Okay, that's it for now. Happy modeling. Cheers.